just want to show how easy it is to make fluffy sourdough sandwich bread. So here I'm adding 1 cup of starter, which is where I messed up. I accidentally only added 1 or 2/3 a cup of the starter, yet the bread turned out so good, which I'll show you at the end. So this is a foolproof method. Next we add 2 2/3 cups of warm filtered water, 1/2 a cup of honey, and make sure you do warm up your water, but don't like boil it. Like make sure it's not too hot. And then you whisk the water and the starter and the honey all together until it's milky, basically until it's all consistently in one liquid. After that, you're going to add 4 teaspoons of salt. I do recommend getting some good salt. I have that fancy like Redmond salt or whatever. And then after that, add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I am using 1/2 tablespoon here, so I did it 6 times. And then you add about 7 cups of flour. I say about because sometimes I do like half a cup more or whatnot if it was like really liquidy. It kind of depends on like where you live and all that. But I did 7 cups this time because it is winter here and all that. I lightly flour my hands so it doesn't like stick together too bad, and then you mix it up until it's kind of like a ball. But it's not going to look like super formed. It's just going to look, I don't know, like kind of shaggy, if that makes sense, which you'll see that in a minute. And I will say like the mixing here isn't very hard compared to other bread recipes, so I recommend trying it. So it's time to stretch and fold. So I bring it up towards me and fold over. So I'm having like a little bit of tension when I'm folding. And I just do it around the clock 8 times in total. So 4 times per each little circle there. And it does get harder the second round you do it, because you're building that tension. So that's totally normal. And then cover with a wet towel and leave overnight on the counter. Do not put this in the fridge. It will make it really weird. I do not recommend. Do not recommend. The next morning, my bread does look a little crusty. I don't know why my bread does this, but it ends up tasting fine. So if yours does it, whatever, it's totally fine. Like I said, this is a fail-proof recipe. So I cut the dough in half here. I just use scissors instead of some fancy little knife thing just to make my life easier. And then I'm going to prepare the dough. So I laminate it, which basically is a fancy way to say you stretch it into a big old rectangle, making sure it's all flat. Look at all those little pieces of those crunchy things. I just leave them. I don't know if there's a better way to do it or not, but I literally like can't taste it in the bread when it's baked. So it doesn't really bother me. And then I roll it up. You stretch over, roll up into a log. It looks like a little croissant at this point. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this for the next one super fast. Rectangle, then stretch and pull over, stretch and pull over, and boom, you got a little croissant. Cover and let it rest for 10 minutes. I really don't know why we do that, but that's just the recipe I follow, and it works great. And then here you do want to roll it into a ball. Roll, roll, roll. So it's just a little shaping basically, and then you pinch the sides if any of them aren't like coming together, and then you plop it into the pan. And then this is probably like the hardest part is you have to wait 2 to 3 hours the next day that you're going to bake the bread. So let it rise 2 to 3 hours and it should double in size. Look at that. Look how big they've gotten. So pretty. Nice and big and doughy looking. Woohoo! I think it's going to turn out great. So you're going to bake it at 37 degrees. What? You're going to bake it at 375 degrees for 40 minutes. And then it should be yummy to eat in a little bit. And then I forgot to get the butter, but make sure you brush it with butter because it tastes so much better and a little less sour. And then the only thing I do recommend is getting a bread knife. I haven't had one. I didn't have one for a long time, but I really recommend. And LOL, I tried to cut into here and I totally was like not thinking. Didn't work out. I want to open the middle so you guys can see how it turned out. Even though I failed the beginning of the recipe by messing it up just a little bit, it still worked out. And that's my point, is that this is a fail-proof recipe. And I will list the actual recipe correctly down below. But look at those little pieces. They look so good. Yum, yum, yum. Let's make it.